Good morning, everyone. So in the last class, we are trying to discuss with the enumerations here. So today we are going to discuss another important concept called vapor classes. So as of now, we did not discuss about the vapor classes section here. So basically, so what are the classes we are discussing? Those are comes under the primitive types here, right? So for example, what are the primitive types we discussed so far? Something called int, long, wide, short, and float, double, char, boolean. Getting the point. So these are the primitive data types here. Getting the point. So we cannot create an object for this particular primitive data types here. So sometimes what happens internally is we need to pass an object instead of the primitive type. So what we can do? So basically all the examples will be covered with the primitive types here. Getting the point. Now in the same way, like what are the primitive types we are having? The same classes names we are going to have vapor classes here. So vapor classes, using the vapor classes, so we can create an object here. But using the primitive types, we cannot create an object here. So this is very important. We need to understand. But whenever we are trying to work with the primitive and vapor class, so we need a auto boxing and auto unboxing here. Getting the point, because we are trying to convert the value object class into the primitive data type. So sometimes we'll try to convert the primitive value into the object class here. Right. So how exactly, so we are going to work on the primitive types as well as vapor classes. And here the primitive data types cannot be overridden, like cannot be extended any class here. So cannot be inherited by any other class here. Getting the point. So basically, as I explained in the previous classes here, so any class by default is going to extend from the object class. But what about this particular primitive types? The primitive types cannot be extended any object class information here. So extended is nothing but cannot be inherited any object class. But here the vapor classes are going to extended by the object class. Getting the point. Now we need to understand here, so how exactly the vapor classes are going to work. Right. So how exactly the vapor classes are going to work, we need to understand here. And here, so for this particular int, we are going to have the vapor class here, integer. Right. So same way, we are having long and so now you can see, so byte, short, and float, double, and character, and finally boolean. So these are the vapor classes. The second line is indicating vapor classes, and the first one is indicating primitive types here. So see the difference between the vapor classes as well as primitive type data types here. Carrying the point. So we can create object of this particular integer, but we cannot create object of this particular int. So this particular integer class is inherited from the object class. But what about the primitive type int here? So it is not inheriting any object class, any other class here. Getting the point. So this we need to understand here. So for example, if I am going to discuss with the character, so inside this particular character, we are going to have constructor information. So let's say, so this is all about our character class. Now we are inside the character here. Right, and now you can observe the character we are going to have constructors here. Observe here character. The character is passing internally primitive parameter. Primitive parameter. Now you can see basically it is deprecated from the 9 version onwards, but still we are discussing the up to 8. Now observe. So this is the name of the class, and which is expecting this particular parameter here. So the parameter here we are passing as a primitive value, not the object type here. So what is the primitive type? Char. Primitive type char. Getting the point. So now, so this is the way we can pass this particular primitive value to this particular constructor, and using this particular constructor, so what we are doing here, again, we are going to have one method here. So the method called char value. So using this particular char value, we are going to return primitive type here. Now you can see the character primitive type char value is returning here. Carrying the point. So from this particular wrapper class here, so if you want to return any primitive value, you can go for this particular method called char value. Right. So this is the way we are going to work with the converting the value into the wrapper class, and the same way, the same value we are going to convert it into the primitive types here. Right. So along with this, we are going to have another class here, Boolean. Now you can observe the Boolean class is also available in the java.lang package. Now observe here. So this is the Boolean class. Now if you observe, so this is the final class. Now what you can do, so we need to check with the character. So character is also final class. Now you can observe public final class. So when we are making this particular final class, so what are the restrictions we are going to have? Any idea if I'm going to make any class as a final, so what are the restrictions we are going to have? So the final class, it's not going to inherit to any other class here. So this is very important here. So if I'm trying to extend this particular character or Boolean class, so we are going to get an error here. Getting the point. So this is we need to understand here. And back to here, our Boolean class here. So inside this particular Boolean class here, we are having two constructors here. So we are having two constructors. Now you can observe. So this particular first constructor is expecting again primitive value. Getting the point. This particular constructor is expecting again primitive value, and another constructor. Now you can see. So another constructor is expecting string here. So if I'm going to pass this particular string here, now what happens internally? So again we are calling this particular method called parse boolean. So what is doing internally? So basically, if I'm trying to pass here true, equal, ignore case, whatever the value we are going to pass, so it's returning true. So otherwise it will return false here. It will return true or false value whenever we are trying to work with the string as a parameter. Getting the point. So these are the two constructors having inside this particular Boolean class. Okay. So same way we are going to have so different classes for the remaining primitive types. The first one, integer. Now you can observe this particular integer is also available inside the which package? So java.lang package. So all the wrapper classes are available in the java.lang package. Now you can see, so this is also final class. This is also final class. Now here we are having the constructor. Now you can see, so the first constructor which is expecting int, and the second constructor which is expecting string here. Now we'll see the first constructor. Observe here we are passing the primitive value. So this is the different because it is deprecated from the 1.9 onwards, but now up to 1.8 we need to understand here how it is working here. So this particular constructor, if I'm going to call, here we are going to specify the primitive value, and if I want to load the primitive value, what is the method we can have? Something called int value. So this particular int value, it will try to return the value. So while creating an object of this particular integer we passed here. Getting the point. So this is the way we can find out the value here. So string here. Now you can observe this is the another constructor, so which is expecting string parameter. Getting the point. So this is the another constructor which is expecting string as a parameter. Now what we are doing here, so with the help of this particular parse into method, we are trying to convert the string value into this particular input. Now we'll see how it's going to convert. So this is the string we are passing, and this is the index. Based on this particular information we are trying to converting here. So this is the code to convert the string value into integer. Getting the point. Now, so we need to debug here to understand how this particular value is converting internally. Getting the point. So just for understanding, I'm giving an information. What are the constructors we are having in the each wrapper classes here? So what exactly the purpose of each constructor here? Right now, so we'll have a simple example on this particular wrapper classes related example. If you observe any class, if I'm going to work with any wrapper classes here, so based on the wrapper class, we'll have a one method here. So the particular method will return the primitive value. So what is the method? So for example, if you open the integer class, we are having the int value, right? If I'm going to open the character here, now you can see char value. Now we can see char value. Now if I'm going to open here boolean wrapper class here, so boolean value, boolean value. Now what you are understanding is, so based on the name of the class, we are going to have the particular method here to return the primitive value. To return the primitive value here. Getting the point. So it's going to append with every class, like if it is a long value, if it is a short value. Getting the point. The value is going to append into the each the primitive classes here. Right. So we'll have a simple example on this particular wrapper class related example. Let's say here what I'm trying to provide here. Class wrap. So it is a wrapper class I'm trying to discuss here. So inside this public static void main string args. Inside this particular main method, now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to create object of this particular integer. So it's nothing but IOB integer object here and integer. And here I'm passing 100. So here I'm trying to pass 100 here. So what you are understanding here, this particular 100 is expecting as a primitive type or object type here. So this particular 100 we are passing as a parameter, and just now we identified the integer is integer wrapper class having two constructors. So inside this particular two constructors, so which one is going to take? Either this particular int constructor or string constructor. Into one, right? Because we are passing a one number here, so which is going to take as an int. So using this particular constructor, now what we are doing here, we are trying to create a one integer wrapper class object here. And so what is the next step here? So using IOB dot int value. So whenever I'm trying to call this particular IOB dot int value, now what happens internally? We are going to get an a so primitive value. So what is a primitive? Int here. Getting the point. I'm trying to call the particular value, sorry, the particular method call int value. This particular int value, it will try to return the primitive value here. Okay. So after this, system dot out dot println. Now I want to print this particular primitive value as well as integer object information. And here value IOB. Getting the point. Now if you observe, I am trying to print value as well as IOB. Observe, I want to save this particular class as a wrap. Go to the command prompt. So .java C for app.java. So what happens here? Java uses override the duplicated API. Okay. So let's see. It is a warning message here, and Java wrap here. Now what is the value we are getting here? 100 and 100. Getting the point. The object class, the integer, the wrapper, we created one object here. So the wrapper class also is printing 100 value. The integer, the like int, the primitive type also, it is printing as a 100 here. Getting the point. So this we need to understand very carefully here. So basically, now you can observe this line we are creating one wrapper object here. So with one parameterized constructor, and using the wrapper class object reference, we are getting the integer value, sorry, primitive value. Like what, using this particular method, we are getting the primitive value. So this is the way, now what we are doing here, we are converting wrapper into the, we are converting like a wrapper class object into the primitive type here. So here we need to understand the, so auto boxing and auto unboxing here. Getting the point. So this is a way, basically, before going to start the auto boxing concept here, now I want to provide the information. So for the each primitive data type, getting the point. For each primitive data type here, we are having so appropriate wrapper class. So this is the way we can create an object, and we can work with like this here. Getting the point. So just for giving the one example I'm trying to provide on the wrapper classes here. Okay. Now, so let's start with the auto boxing here. So basically, from the Java 1.5 onwards, the Sun Microsystem introduces the concept called auto boxing and auto unboxing here. Getting the point. So we need to understand the, so what exactly boxing and unboxing is going to work here. Right. So basically, the auto boxing here, so is going to convert the value, it's going to convert the primitive type automatically converted into the wrapper class here. So carefully observe here. So whatever the primitive type value we are having, the particular value is going to automatically converted into the wrapper class. And same way, the auto unboxing here, the wrapper class object, getting the point, the wrapper class object is going to converted into the primitive type. Getting the point. So it is opposite here. So auto unboxing is the process. So the value of boxer object is automatically extracted. Extracted is nothing but unboxed from the type called wrapper class into the primitive type here. Getting the point. So now if you observe here, we don't need to call the particular methods here. So what are the methods we don't need to call? So for example, if I want to convert the value, the wrapper class object into the primitive type here, so directly we can change the value, or we can assign the particular reference, so that the references will convert it into the primitive value here. So we don't need to call this section of code here. So this will give you the auto unboxing here. Getting the point. So carefully observe, this is very important here, boxing and unboxing here. The boxing here, what we are doing here, the primitive value we are converting into the wrapper class, and The Vapor class object we are converting into the primitive type. It is a unboxing here. Right. So we'll see. So what exactly the simple example is going to give on this particular auto boxing and auto unboxing here. Here, the same example I want to work here. Observe. So here I'm trying to work with integer IOB is equals to 100. Integer IOB is equals to 100. Now what I'm doing here? So this basically, this is a primitive value. Getting the point. 100 is a primitive value because in the previous sections we worked with this 100 into data type, not integer. Not integer. Getting the point. Now what you are understanding here? So this line of code we are converting primitive into Vapor class. Getting the point. So primitive into Vapor class. Right. And the second one, if you observe carefully, int I is equals to IOB. Int I is equals to IOB. So basically, this is the primitive value. Now we converted into the object type. The primitive value we converted into the object type. Same way, the object value we are converting into primitive type. Getting the point. So this section of code, auto boxing, this section of code, auto boxing, and this section of code, auto unboxing. Getting the point. Observe, carefully observe. Primitive value we are converting object type. The object value we are converting primitive. So here I am not using any the particular method called into value. I am not using any the particular method called into value. So directly I will try to print this particular line of code. So to find out the value here, I and IOB. If we observe, let me compile one more time and execute. Now you can observe, so we are getting 100 and 100 here. Getting the point. So even using this particular into value method, we are getting same the value. So without using this particular into value, also we are getting the same value here. But here we need to understand carefully. So this section of code, boxing and unboxing, is converting automatically. Getting the point. Whenever we are trying to work with the same data type here, the auto boxing and auto unboxing, so it's going to convert automatically. Getting the point. We don't need to explicitly convert the values here. So this is very important here. And same way, so we'll try to understand the auto boxing and methods here. Auto boxing and methods here. So let's see. We'll try to work with another class here. AutoBox2. Inside this particular AutoBox2, now what I'm trying to write here, so static int. So careful observe here. So this particular, the method behavior I'm defining as a static. The method is trying to return into data type here, and name of the method auto. If we observe, so this particular method is expecting Vapor class as a parameter. Getting the point. So Vapor class as a parameter, but if you see carefully, the method is returning primitive data type here. Value we are taking as a object and we are returning as a primitive type here. So let's say return b. Getting the point. So this is very important here. Now here we are passing object as a parameter and we are returning primitive type here. We are returning primitive type. So this is very important here. Right. So public static void main string args, I define the main method here. Now what I'm trying to write here. So basically I want to call auto. Here also I'm trying to give 100. Getting the point. So here also I'm trying to give 100 here. 100 is a primitive type value, but now we can see. So if I'm going to work with any error we are going to get or not, and here I want to convert it into integer and system.out.println. So this is very important, we need to understand here. The method is expecting Vapor class as a parameter, but we are passing primitive type. And finally, so this particular method is trying to return the primitive value. The value we are converting into the object style here. The value we are converting into the object style. So we'll understand whether this example is going to give any error, or without any error this particular example is going to compile successfully or not. So Java say autobox2.java. Now it's compiled successfully, and now we need to understand the execution. So 100, we are getting 100. So we are giving 100, but we are trying to converting multiple times like boxing and unboxing here. So finally we are printing the same value. Getting the point. So while converting auto boxing or unboxing here, we are not getting any error here. But why we are not getting? So this section of code, everything is converting automatically when we are having two data types are same. Getting the point. So this is very important here. Now if you observe, I want to provide one more example. So now you can observe, so this example will give you more information. Autobox 3. So inside this particular Autobox 3, string args. And after this, now what I'm trying to do, I'm defining one integer data type. So IOB 2. So these are the object references, and here one primitive type. Getting the point. So we're having object as well as primitive. Now you can observe IOB is equals to 100. IOB is equals to 100. Now what I'm doing here, the object, the reference to IOB, I'm trying to initialize it to 100. Right. And after this, so what we can do, I want to print system.out.println original value. Original value of this particular IOB. Right. After this, so here, now what I'm trying to work here, IOB. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to work with the pre-increment operator. Getting the point. So now you can see basically IOB is the object reference here. Right. IOB is not a value here. It is not a primitive data type, or it is not a value, but it is having reference here. But how we can increment the reference here? Getting the point. So instead of integer, now you can think here, if I'm going to have something called our box class. So we'll define like this, box. So can we do plus box like this? So plus box. So is it applicable here? The same section of code we are defining here. Plus IOB. Getting the point. Because in the previous sections we already identified whenever I'm trying to print this particular small box here, so it will give you the reference of this particular box class here. Same way we can think here, because this is also reference here, because it is a object class here, right? The object class will have only references sections here that we already identified here. Okay, let's see now what we can do. So this section of code is going to work or it will give you any error. We need to understand. Now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to increment the IOB. Okay, let's see. After this, I want to print. After incrementing here, I want to print the value. After plus IOB. Right, what is the IOB value? And finally, now what I'm trying to write here, I'm trying to check with some multiplication or division operator we are going to work. And here, so IOB place IOB2, we are having 0. We can work with IOB only. So whatever the value I'm going to get, I'm assigning into the IOB2. Observe carefully, IOB with the division operator, I'm trying to divide some value. And whatever the value we are going to get, again, the value I'm trying to append with the IOB. And the expected, like after performing all the expressions here, the final result value we are assigning into IOB2. Correct. Now, what I want to do here, I want to print this particular IOB2. Getting the point. Now you can observe IOB2 after the expression, what is the value we are going to get? I'm trying to print. And so this is the section of code I want to work one more time. Here, so this particular section of code, here I'm trying to assign with I. So I is our primitive data type. So I is our primitive data type. So this is very important, we need to understand here. Getting the point. Basically, we are trying to work on the object class, so some expressions here, but the result we are assigning into the primitive type. Right. And finally, so we can print this particular I value. I after the expression. Sorry, not Y. Right. So we'll try to work on the this particular current example here. Now we'll see any error we are going to get, or so without giving any error, this particular simple program is going to execute or not. We need to understand here. So Java C autobox3.java. Now you can observe it is compiled successfully. So now we need to think very carefully here, because we are trying to work with expressions, like we are trying to work with references. We are incrementing the references here, but here we are not getting any error here. We are not getting any error. So why we are not getting any error? Basically, the expressions are going to converted into the primitive type. So whatever the value the inside this particular reference having, the value will assign into the appropriate, the same reference variable name. The same reference variable name. Getting the point. So this is very important, we need to understand here. So Java AutoBox 3. Observe here, the original value we are having 100, and after incrementing IOB, we are getting so 101, and IOB2 after expression here. So 134. The same thing I'm trying to work with integer, primitive data type, that is called I. Getting the point. So this is the way we can work with so object to primitive type, primitive to object type. So any questions regarding this particular type conversions? Sorry, autoboxing and unboxing on the same data type. And let me know if anyone having any questions regarding this particular so autoboxing and auto unboxing related examples here.
Yes, clear.
Okay, so we'll try to work with one more example here. Here I want to work with another data type here, something called AutoBox 4. Inside this particular AutoBox 4, carrying the point. Now here what I want to do, so integer IOB 100. I want to work with a wrapper class called double and DOB. Basically, so this is the primitive value, cutting the pen. So primitive 98.6 is a primitive double value. Now what we are doing here, the primitive value we are assigning into the wrapper class object, so that is called double. Right. Now, so you need to understand this section of code here. So DOB plus IOB. So I'm trying to work with addition here. So what is the return type I am going to get here? Here, what is the return type we are going to get? Like here, I'm going to get double or I'm going to get integer. So which one I need to define? So other than these two, we are going to get any other data type here. Here I want to provide the type information. So which type I need to add inside this particular brace?
Maybe object which is common for both the data types.
No, that is common. We can define the object. But here, other than the object here.
So whatever data type has a big size, probably double will
Yes.
prefer.
So we can work with the double here. Because this section of code we already discussed in the type conversions here. Here, so DOB. Cutting the pan. So this is very important here. And finally, what is the value we need to print here? So system.out.println, and I'm trying to print to DOB. So I'm trying to print this particular DOB. But here, so what is the value? The value is going to convert it into the double with this particular addition expression, or what is the value we are going to get here? Because I'm trying to work with integer data type as well as double data type here. So integer value cannot have a, so the dot values here. Right. But here we are converting the integer value into double. but how this particular value we are going to get. So this particular, after conversion, this particular expression, so whatever the value we are going to get, the value will convert it into the double data type, and will have a, so whatever the format we are going to have for the double data type, so the format is going to print. Now you can see if I'm going to print this particular, so DOB after expression. Here I want to work with so DOB. Let me work with AutoBox 4. Java C AutoBox4.java. It's compiled successfully. So whenever we are trying to work with different wrapper classes, we are not getting any error here. And I'm trying to executing this particular AutoBox 4. So now you can observe. So what is the value we are getting? And 986.6. So basically it is the double format we are getting here. So even though we are trying to work with integers, but after doing some addition here, getting the point, after doing the addition here, the value will convert it into the double data type here. The value will convert it into the double data type. And now you can observe, so along with this particular additional operations here, we can work with the switch cases also. Right. So we can go for the switch cases. So basically, we already identified with the primitive data type. We already identified with the primitive data type how we can work on the switch cases. So same thing, we are going to work with the wrapper classes here. So to work with this particular wrapper classes here, now what we can do, here only I want to define the simple example. Here I'm trying to define the switch here, something called IOB. Inside this switch, here I want to define 100 and system.out.println. I will print handle value. Getting the point. And here we need to work with the break here. Case here 200. System.out.println. So based on this particular IOP, so what is the value we are going to have? So it's going to print. And here default. System.out.println. So what is the default value I want to specify? Here error. Here I want to specify error. Let's see, after printing this particular value, we are trying to work with the switch cases here. Okay, the brace we did not close. Compile one more time, and it's compiled successfully, and I'm trying to execute here. So after expression, we already identified this section, the above message, and we need to think about the 100. So this 100 is coming from the our switch cases here. But if you see, so here what is the reference? Here basically IOP is a reference of this particular integer. Getting the point. And here we are trying to work with primitive type values. So directly we are working with the values here. But basically it is a reference. What happens internally? It will automatically unbox a value. Getting the point. Automatically, so it's going to unbox the particular wrapper class object into the primitive type, and later it will check for the cases here. So this we need to understand the regarding this particular integer wrapper classes as well as double wrapper classes here. So let me check with the simple example on the boolean and characters here. Boolean and characters here. So we'll work autobox 5. Inside this particular autobox file, now what I'm trying to write here, so I define the boolean and here I'm trying to work with the true. So basically primitive type or object, the boolean wrapper class here will have the same value, true or false here. So we can work with only two values here. Carrying the point. So one, the boolean wrapper class object I defined. So the reference B is holding the value called true. And after this, now what I'm trying to write here, if B. Carrying the point. I'm defining one expression. So if it is returning B, I want to print println. If this particular B is returning true, so what happens internally? B is true. Carrying the point. And so this is the value I want to print. After this, if you observe carefully, so this section of code, B is basically it is a reference here. This particular B basically it is a reference here. Now what we are doing is, but here in the expressions, the conditional expressions, we cannot work with references here. But what we can do, we need to define the values here. We need to define the values here. But here I am not defining any values here. So without defining the values also, carrying the point, without defining the values also, so how it's going to print, we need to think about this particular conditional block here. Okay, now character related example we can add here. So it is a character CH. Carrying the point. So CH is equals to, I'm trying to work with a small x here. So this already we identified here. Again, based on this particular x Unicode value, it will convert to the value. Okay, so after this, now what we can do here, I'm trying to check with the CH into CH2. Cutting the point. So CH2 equals to CH. Now what you are understanding here? Basically, this x is also one value. Cutting the point. So whenever we are trying to assign the value, now what we are doing here? So we are trying to work with auto boxing, and the second section we are trying to work with auto unboxing here. Auto unboxing here. So these two lines are providing the information, and same way, so these two lines are providing the boolean related auto boxing and auto unboxing here. Right now, so finally, I want to print this particular char related message. CH2 is CH2 and close the braces of this particular main method as well as our class level brace. Observe here, so these are the boolean wrapper class as well as character wrapper class example we are trying to identify. Let me clear the console. So Java C autoboxdemo.py. So it's compiled successfully and autobox 5. So B is to CH is the X value. Carrying the point. The same thing we are getting here. Basically, but only we need to understand here. So how this particular conversion is happening, auto boxing as well as auto unboxing here. So this is very important, we need to understand here. Carrying the point. So this is all about the the primitive primitive data types converting object into the same way we are converting into the primitive type here. So here one more example I want to provide. So this is the final example for this particular auto boxing and auto unboxing here. And here I'm defining double data type. So the double having different values here. So A comma B comma C. And A is equals to so 14.2 and B is equals to 4.0. Carrying the point. And here I'm trying to work with the C. I'm trying to work with the C. So basically, if I'm going to work with the so C, so this kind of operation like C is equals to we can work with like this here. So A into A plus B into B. So whatever the value we are going to get, so we can assign in the value of this particular C. So there is no the error section here, but when we are trying to work with the math class related sections. So if you observe, if I'm trying to work on the so this is our math class, and inside this particular math class we are having one method called scare method. So whenever I'm trying to work here, basically it is trying to return the double, but here now what I want to provide here. So how exactly so this section of code is converting here? Let's say inside this section of code I want to work like this. Math dot. So I'm calling this particular method. I'm calling math dot scare method we are trying to call here. So this is available in the lang package only. So we can define this particular class without importing any additional here. Now here I want to print system.out.println C value. Getting the point. Let's observe so AutoBox 5 only. Compile AutoBox 5. Okay. So I missed this semicolon. We'll compile one more time. Now you can see what happening internally. Oh, sorry. B already defined here. We need to change here. So this particular B already defined here. Here we can go for the B1. But so other than this particular B1, we are getting the different. Let's compile one more time. So it's compiled successfully, and I'm trying to execute. Carrying the point. So basically, what we are doing is we are trying to work on the square method, which is defined inside the our math class here. But here, what I'm doing here. So first I'm checking with a multiplication with a. Carrying the point. A multiplication with a and so this particular B multiplication with B. Finally, so whatever the value we are getting, we are doing some addition. Carrying the point. So after doing the addition, the final value with the final value we are trying to work with the square method here. Carrying the point. So this is also very important here when we are trying to work with any method. So we need to think here. So what exactly the method will return here? What exactly the method is going to return? Now if you observe, so which is expecting double here, and it is trying to return double. But here, so it's internally calling sigmath dot this particular square method is calling here. Fine. So this is all about the particular auto boxing as well as auto unboxing here. So any questions? So as of now, regarding this particular boxing and unboxing.
Uh, can we refer primitive and this one, right? Object reference with the same variable name, like integer a, int a. So a variable treats as a different, or we are going to get it.
No, because just now I identified right boolean b and double b. So compiler giving an error.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So I thought like integer and int. Okay, instead of no, yeah, boolean and double, right? So even in that case also it will.
So integer double a and into double a. Okay, now you can see double a is equals to 45 and double a is equals to 78. Now let me know this a is belongs to this section of line is pointing to this particular primitive type value or it is pointing to the wrapper class. So how the compiler will understand here. Getting the point. So here I am defining wrapper class and here also I am defining with the a here. So if we want to understand here, now we can see variable w is already defined.
Okay.
So we cannot work with the same variable even though in the same data type or it is in the different data type.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So observe here, this is all about our auto boxing and unboxing. And one important concept we need to understand here, annotations here. So basically, so how we can work with annotations here. Getting the point. So to create an annotation here, so what are the syntaxes we need to follow? Getting the point. So this particular annotations also is introduced from the 1.5 onwards here. Getting the point. So from the 1.5 onwards, these annotations are going to support it for the our Java languages. So to create this particular annotations here, now what are the syntax we need to follow here? So let's see, we'll work with the simple example here. Now here, this is the syntax we need to follow to work on the annotations here. So at the rate interface, so this is the syntax we need to define. And after this, we need to provide the annotation name. So the annotation name, my ANNO. Getting the point. So my ANO is nothing but my annotation here. Right. So this is very important section we need to understand here. Basically, how exactly the annotations are going to work internally. So we are going to discuss right now. Inside this particular annotations here, now if you are trying to provide any information here, so we can define like this. So this is the method called str, and the same way I want to work for the another method called var. Now you can see, so one method which is work for the string data type and another method which is work for the int data type here. Getting the point. Now how I'm trying to create a annotation here. So at the rate interface is going to define the annotation format here and name of the annotation we can work like this, my annotation here. So basically, so it's going to these annotations are based from the our interfaces here. Now you can observe inside this particular interfaces also we are going to define the some methods here. So whenever we are defining the methods, we already identified. So those methods we are going to implement it in our implementation class. But whatever this particular annotations here, here also I'm declaring the methods here. So now you can see this particular method cannot have the method body. Getting the point. So these two methods cannot have the method body. Now what we can understand here, so just we are declaring the method here. Right. Now, so we need to understand here, whenever we are trying to declare this particular methods here, so how exactly we can implement this methods here when we are trying to work on this particular annotations here. Okay. So back to here. So what I want to provide here, this particular annotations, this particular, whenever we are trying to work with the custom annotations here, so by default, so it's going to included, like it's going to inherited from the, we are having one annotation class. So by default, it is going to declare, sorry, it's not a class, it is a package name. Now you can see java.lang annotation. Heading the point. So whenever we are trying to define the custom annotations here, now what happens internally? So the annotation is going to declare within this particular package. So what is the package here? Java.lang.annotation. Right. Now we'll see what is the information we're having. So basically this is our interface here. Now what is the information we are having inside this particular annotation interface here? So first one is the equals method and hash code method, toString and so it's trying to work with the annotation types here. So these are the information. Now you can see, so this information we already available inside our object class. Our object class. But here, so what we need to understand here, whenever we are trying to work with any annotation here, so we are going to have these particular methods here, equals method, toString method, and hash code method. Getting the point. So internally, implicitly, so these methods are going to override here. And now you can see, so it's also specify our annotation type here. Getting the point. So this particular annotation type, it will try to return the particular class of information. This particular annotation type is going to provide the class type. So what is our class here? So here we are going to work on the myAnno. So myAnno is our class. So it is typed with the annotations here. Okay. So we'll have a simple example regarding this particular annotations here. So how exactly which is going to work here. Okay. So back to here, we define this particular information. Now, what is the information first we need to understand? Whenever we are going to create any annotation, so which is going to create in the java.lang annotation package, and we're having the one interface that is called annotation. So inside this particular interface, so some of the methods we're having, so those methods are going to override in our my annotations here. So we don't want to explicitly override, because by default the values are going to override here. Right, and we need to focus on the custom methods. So what are the custom methods we are going to provide in our annotations here? So how these particular annotations are going to override here? Okay, so let's see. We'll try to work on the simple example. So now we understand this particular annotation here, and later, now what we can do, this particular annotation, I'm going to work on the on top of the method. This particular annotation, I'm going to work on the on top of method that is called so static dot and so my mathematics related example. So here I'm trying to work with myAnno. Cutting the one. Now what you are understanding here? So this particular myAnno is our annotation here, and here we are having two methods. The two methods information we need to provide. So first one, which is expecting str, the data type we are having as a string. Here we can define this string related information. So this is all about the string, and here val method. So here I'm trying to specify the val method. The value I'm initializing as 100. Now what you're understanding here, so these are the two methods we declare here. and we are providing the values of the method one. But how this particular methods are going to implemented here? Carrying the point. So here we don't need to bother about the implementation. So basically this particular implementation is going to taken care by our compiler. Getting the point. So whatever the methods we are going to define, and we need to specify so what is the value we want to pass to the appropriate methods here. Getting the point. So this is the way we are going to work on the annotation here, name of the annotation. But here we need to check at the rate. This is important here. So while creating also we are defining the at the rate, and while accessing, like while we are trying to use the particular annotation also, we need to define the at the rate here. Getting the point. And we need to specify this section of code here. This particular section of code here. Right. So this is all about the annotation we can define, and we can work with this particular annotation here. So let's see. So we can go for the simple retention policies. Before going to provide the retention policy, so I think someone is heard about some annotations called override. We are not finding override. What we can do at the rate open drive. Yes. So we are having one annotation called override. So we need to understand here. Now you can see. So this is the way, like we are also having the same syntax here. At the rate interface, we are trying to work with the name of the annotation override. But here, now you can see, so there is no information. Carrying the point. So this particular override annotation does not contain any information. Okay, so we'll see this kind of annotation later. But now observe, if you see, here we are having retention here. Getting the point. If you observe carefully, this particular retention is also one annotation. Retention is also one annotation. Now we need to understand how this particular retention is implemented. I'm trying to move inside this particular retention. Observe here. Now you can see the retention is defined how we are trying to work with my annotation, and here we are having retention policy dot value. Retention policy dot value. Getting the point. Now we can understand here. So this particular retention is extending from this particular annotation called retention, and internally we are having the retention policy. Basically, we need to see retention policy. Retention policy is our enum. Getting the point. Retention policy is a enum. So just like in the last class we discussed about the enum here. Now you can observe we are having source constant and the class and runtime. Now you can see, so what are the information is providing? What are the information is providing here? So annotations are discarded by the compiler. Now you can see, so annotation, whatever this particular source. So when we are trying to work with this particular source here, so this message is applicable, right? When we are trying to work with a class, so this particular message is applicable. When we are trying to work with the runtime, so this particular message is applicable here. Now we need to understand the retention. So basically the retention is having the internally retention policy. So whatever the annotation we are going to create here, getting the point, the custom annotation, whatever the custom annotation we are going to create. So this particular annotation we are giving an option. So where it needs to be available in the source level, or it needs to be available at the class level, or it needs to be available at the runtime. Getting the point. So these are the three we need to understand here. So source is nothing but, so in the our source classes, like it's nothing but on the directory level, so it's going to available. And now you can see this particular annotations are discarded by our compiler, right? So compiler, it's not going to compile this particular annotation whenever we are going to work with the source. And whatever this particular class here, now you can see, so this particular annotation is available on top of our classes here. Getting the point. And So we don't need to bother about the compiler section, and this is a default behavior. If I'm not providing any retention policy, by default we are going to have class here and runtime. So runtime is nothing but it will available in the class level, or it will available in the inside this particular what we can call it as a VMs. So basically for the source and the class, getting the point. So while doing the runtime, cannot find this annotation here. Getting the point. So basically, so when we are trying to work with the source, so it's going to available in the source file. Getting the point. Source file. So wherever we are trying to define this particular annotation, so the annotation will available in the source file, and while doing the compilation, so it's going to discard it. Getting the point. This discard is nothing but, so it's going to exclude it from the compilation part, right? Whenever we are trying to work with the source. And what about this particular class here? And basically, so this particular class, when we are defining, the annotation will available inside the dot class file. Getting the point. So it will available inside the dot class file while doing the compilation. But here, it is not available the runtime. When we are trying to execute our application, so this particular annotation information, it's not available here. Only the compilation part only it will available, and so we can go for this particular runtime. It will available the runtime as well as compile time. So most of the annotations, getting the point. Most of the annotation, so we are going to work with the runtime here. So this particular runtime, it will give you the more information because it is available in the all the cases. It will available the compile time, runtime. Now you can see. So now you can see retention, one more annotation. So it is available on top of the runtime. Now we'll go for the retention. So now you can see this particular override. Override will available only source here. Or only in the source class. Source class is nothing but our main classes. Carrying the point. In our main class, whatever the main classes we are going to work, the main classes only it is available here. Right? So it's not available in the dot class files, it's not available in our runtime execution. Okay, so these are about the retention policy. This is very important, we need to understand here. And what about this particular target? So target is will provide the information. So this particular annotation, it needs to be included method level or constructor level or class level. So it's going to provide the information. Now you can see element type here. So if it understand this particular enum, we are going to have more information about the target here. Now you can understand the type. So type is nothing but it will available class interface or including any annotation type or enum declaration. So these are the types here. Getting the point. The annotation, it will available on top of the class or interfaces. Sorry, we can use this particular annotation on top of the class or interface, enum, or any other another annotation. So field here. So field is nothing but variables here. So along with the variables as well as we can work on the constants here. So the particular enum constants also we can define here. And the method. So the method we already identified. So parameters. Whether it is a constructor parameter or the method parameter we can work with. So constructor. So local variables. Getting the point. So annotation type here. So we can define what is the type of this particular annotation type. So package level. Getting the point. In the 1.8 type parameter. Type use and module here. So since 9 the module is added, but now you can see up to these are the enough information. So most of the time we are going to work on these are the annotations here. Cutting the point. So these also the element type. Element type is nothing but target annotation. So where exactly we want to use the annotation. This annotation, this target is going to provide the information. Right. Now these two we are going to specify in our newly created annotation. So this is all about our newly created annotation. So retention, the retention policy. So we need to provide as a runtime, right? So it's available in the compile time and runtime. We can go for the runtime. So let's see. So this particular annotation example we can create from our IDE. So we are going to have more information. Observe, I'm going to work on this particular package here, annotation. Here I want to provide my annotation, and now you can see, so here it's giving the retention, target, and documented. So we'll see later regarding this particular documented, but so the retention I want to add as a runtime, and the target I want to add as a okay. So for example, we'll comment out this particular target. We'll see later where we can use this particular target. First, I'm trying to add, sorry, I want to change my annotation. So rename this particular annotation. Okay. Observe. So we already identified retention runtime. Now we can see the runtime is coming from the retention policy runtime. Okay. And here, so what is the information we can define? So these two sections of codes. These two sections of code we can define here. So this is all about my annotation. And we identified here where we can use this particular annotation here. And one more information I want to provide, very important section here. Basically, so to find out the class information, so just now we understand the annotation type, it will give you the class type here. The annotation type, it's going to provide the class type. So to find out the class information, what we need to understand here, now you can see we are having one method inside, sorry, here only. So in Java, we are going to have class is a one class. In Java, we are going to have class is a one class here. Now you can see this is a class. Class is a keyword, class is our Java class. So don't confuse here. So this particular class is defining as a name of the class. This class is a keyword. This class is a keyword here. Now you can see inside this particular class, we are going to have get class method. Get classes we are having. Where is the get classes available? Basically, inside this particular class only, we are going to have one method, something called get class here. It will give you the current class object information. There is no provide method. To see if it or not. Let's see. Here we are having this dot get class. Where is the get class is available? So they define, yes, here we are having, but is coming from the way array dot class. Okay, sorry. So basically, this particular get class is trying to return the current class object information. Okay, so this is I want to provide. I'm expected, so the get class is available inside this class, but sorry, it is available in the object class. Right. Now, what you are understanding here, whenever we are trying to call this particular get class here, so it's trying to return the class object. The class object is going to provide the class object, it will provide the current class object. So sometimes if I'm going to work on my annotation, So it will return the my annotation class information here. Right. Okay. So we'll see a simple example on the get class method. So as well as we are having get method. Get method we are going to have. So to return the appropriate method information. So we'll have a get method, get field, get constructor. Getting the point. So get field, get method, and get constructor. Let's see. So whether we are having here inside get method. Now you can see get method. So inside the class object, get method we are having. So this particular method, get method will return more methods here. Method is also one class. Getting the point. Method is also one class. So which is available inside our what is the package? It is available inside the java.lang.reflective. So this is the method class. Cutting the point. So as of now we are discussing the methods here. Same way we are going to have one class on the method. So same way we'll have a constructors also. Constructor. Now you can see constructor. Constructor is also one class. Right. So if you want to know the constructor information inside this particular class, get constructors. Get constructor method. We need to call the get constructor. So first here in the object class get class method I'm going to call, and later we are going to get a class object. So based on this particular class object, these are the methods we can access. Get methods as well as get constructors, and we can access the particular field also. And the same way we can work with one more method, get annotation. Get annotation. So this particular get annotation, it's going to provide our annotation class object information. Getting the point. So don't confuse here. So these are the very important section here, because so how the predefined method we can use to find out some information inside the annotation classes. So these are the methods we are going to have. Let's see, we'll try to work with a simple example here. So I created my annotation here. Right, I created my annotation here. So using this particular my annotation here, I'm going to work on the one more class here. Inside this particular, the package called linked profile. The class name of the class is a meta. Just for understanding, I'm defining meta class here, and what I'm doing here, I'm trying to work with annotation on top of this particular method here. So populate static name of the method, carrying the point, and here I want to work with this section of code where I need to work with here I need to work on the on top of the method, carrying the point. And internally, now what I'm doing here, I want to create an object of the above class. Right, here I'm creating object here. So now you can see, so using this particular object, we are going to call get class method. Using this particular object, we are going to call get class method. So to find out the class object here, now you can see we are getting get class method here. Let me provide the return type here. So this is a get class. By default, we already identified here. So which is going to action from the our meta. Getting the point. Meta is already action from the our object class. So directly we are calling this particular get class. And Now if you observe, the get class method is trying to return the class object here. So here the question marks, we'll see the in our upcoming classes. So this section of code we are going to call it as a generic type here. In our upcoming classes we'll work on the how exactly we can go for the generic classes type here. And so back to here. So this particular class is extending from the meta. Now we are going to access the meta related information here. Okay. And here class 1. So class 1 is a reference of this particular class object. So using this particular class 1, now what we can do, we can find out the get method information. Get method. Here I am trying to provide the method, name of the method, if the method is taking any parameters. If the method is taking any parameters, we can define like this here. Let me define the method because we don't have any parameters here. We don't have any parameters. So what is the name of our method? So our method is my method. Here we don't have any parameters. We can close. Now what happens internally? So basically it is giving an error here. So try with multi-catch we can handle here. So we are going to get some security exceptions as well as no such method exception. Now you can see if the method is not available, we may get an no such method exception here. Okay, so this section of multi-catch we already identified in the previous sections. So I don't want to explain one more time here. Okay, so back to here, whenever we are trying to work with a method, now we already identified here. So it will return the method object. It will return the method object here. Getting the point. So using this particular method, now what I'm doing here, method dot get annotation class. So this is a get annotation. I'm trying to work on the annotation here. So what is our annotation here? Our annotation call here my annotation dot class. Now what you are understanding here? I'm trying to find out the my annotation object information. So see carefully here how I'm trying to access the information here. So I'm trying to call the get class here. So it will return our current class object here. Getting the point. So what is our current class object? It is nothing but meta. And inside this particular meta class, I'm trying to call the method here. But here we need to specify the method name here. So what is the method we are having? We need to define the method so that we are going to get the method object. So from the method, because on top of the method only, we define the annotations here. On top of the method only, we define the annotations here. So I'm getting the my annotation object here. So whenever I'm trying to get this particular my annotation object here, now what we can do? So here I can print the values here. Using this particular annotation reference here, dot str method. And here dot val method. Getting the point. So this is a way we can print the information. What is the information we are having inside this particular code? Getting the point. Now you can see. So I'm coming out of this particular method. So main method, I'm trying to work with the main method, and I'm calling my method. Getting the point. So this is important here. Let's see how we can. So I'm going to run this particular example. What is the value we are going to get here? So here we are going to get here annotation example 100. So how I am getting this particular value, annotation example 100? So where this particular values I'm defining here? So inside this particular annotation here. Inside this particular annotation, I'm trying to define the value. So if we want to find out this particular value, so these are the steps we need to follow to get the whatever the values we are having inside this particular annotation here. Right. So any questions regarding this particular simple example on this? Okay. So we don't have here. So we'll try to continue the same example in tomorrow class. So we need to discuss some more information inside regarding this particular annotations concept here. So this is very important here. Basically, if you know the basic concepts, so how we can work on the custom annotation. So we are going to create in the real time multiple annotations here. So the simple example here, ID annotations, value annotations. The value annotation is already defined in our Spring, but to work on the custom values here, we are going to work on the value annotation. Right. So we'll see how we can work on the multiple exceptions, like multiple annotations here. Sorry, I did not understand your query here. So can you please elaborate more?
Can you please explain the class type which you have used for class on reference? Line number 9. Yeah.
Okay.
What is this class, and then in Angular braces extends meta? But what exactly is this class, I'm asking?
So basically, what we are doing here, we created one object here. With the help of this particular object, we are trying to find out the class information. I'm trying to find out this particular class information, the current class information. So that is called meta. But here, this particular get class method is trying to return the class object here. So this is the type here. Basically, the method will return the type of this class type, and internally we are going to work on the meta class. Because we are trying to find out the information, the current class we are having meta. So don't worry, as of now, this section of code, we are going to call it as a generic. So we'll see how exactly this particular generic is going to provide. If you see the method, the return type here, class question mark. So here the question mark is nothing but type. We are going to work with a class, and here the generic type we are going to work on the based on our requirement. The generic type is going to change. So for example, instead of question mark, if I'm going to work with something called string or any integer or double class, but here we are working with meta class. Getting the point? Here the type is not going to satisfy. Getting the point?
Why
The type is
not class?
Not a type is class. Basically, the method is returning the type. Return type is a class. So I explained here. It is a one of the class which is defined in our Java language. It is not a keyboard. It is a one class object. So now you can see we are having the class. So this is the class. The get class method will return this object here. Where is the class? So that is I'm explaining here. Don't confuse here. Keyword is different. Class object is different. So now here you can see this is the keyword. But here we are defining class here. Name of the class we are defining as a class. Getting the point? So this particular get class method is returning the class. So what is the class here? This is the class which is returning here. The get class method will return this object here, this class object here.
Okay. So we can have return type as class object?
Yes, this is a predefined method. This is not a custom method. So we cannot change the return type and everything. So just we need to use here.
Okay.
So like how we used here, so something called toString method. Now you can see this toString method is returning string. We cannot change this string into a double. So just we can use this particular toString to get the appropriate message section. Same way we can go for the get class here. So to find out basically the purpose here, to find out the current class information.
Okay.
The current class information, we are going to call this method called getClass. It will return the type here class, but here the class is internally is extending to the meta class only. So this is the type of the class is returning, but internally we are having the meta class only.
Okay.
This class is extending from the meta class. We can access the meta class information here. So we'll see more information on this particular generic section later. But just for understanding it, the get class method is it will return the class type here.
And one more question I have. In many places, I have seen toString and hash code method. Is that generic?
So
When
like
you're
some of the,
explaining.
so basically like a hash code. Now if you observe, maybe here also we are going to have hash code here, but the hash code is not implemented here. So it is a native method. So for the native method, we cannot find out the implementation. But if you observe in the string class, in the string class also, we will have hash code method. So now you can see it will return the some implementation here. So this is the hash code. Basically, so to understand the more about this particular hash code, so we need to understand the collection framework. In the collection framework, I can explain you. So how this particular hash code is going to generate it for the each and every object, and how we are going to compare the object based on this particular hash code here. So everything we are going to discuss. Basically, to find out the object information, so we need to go for the hash code method. Because each and every object, we are going to have a unique hash code here.
Okay.
Okay. So hash code and equals method we can see in our upcoming classes.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay. So any other questions?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we'll continue the annotation related example in tomorrow because we need to discuss some more concepts inside this particular annotations here.
If possible, please upload this recording so that we can refresh it before the class.
Okay, no problem. So I'm going to upload after the class.
When can we start spring classes?
So maybe it's going to take more 10 days. So within the 10 days, we are going to close our core Java concepts here. So we need to discuss the more on the collection frameworks and some of the Java 8 features. So once we have these two concepts are completed, we are going to move on to the Spring.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.